Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Bloody Jacob here to bring you sort of like a general discussion, general review sort of video here. I've gotten quite a bit behind on my Black Sails reviews. I know I said at the beginning of season 2 that I wasn't guaranteeing that I'd be reviewing each episode each week. But truth is, I'm really enjoying the season, guys. I mean, it's been really, really good so far. And so I actually want to get into the habit of actually reviewing each new episode each week it airs. That's new, obviously. And so this is sort of like a catch-up video, sort of like a giving my general thoughts on the past two episodes I haven't done a video on. And that would be the episode which was called, give me a second while I look at it, X and XI, Roman numerals again. And, yeah, it's been a really, really good combination of episodes. I mean, the premiere was solid, and these past two episodes just really have hit home for me. Really, in all honesty, they've been really, really good. So I'm not going to go into like too much detail because how long would it take you to review two episodes that are like 40 minutes to an hour each? So I'm not going to go too long for you guys. I'm planning on only like 10-15 minutes for this at most. But I did want to get my thoughts out there about the general things that have been going on in the past two episodes. It was really cool to see, of course, Captain Flint getting his captaincy back. It was really, really clever and brilliant pretty much how he did that. He basically, puts Dufresne on the spot and he lets him go into the situation, against this other ship that they're trying to, rob, basically. And, Flint basically narrates the moment when everything's going to go to hell, and, when the people on the other ship start fighting back, Dufresne sort of panics and doesn't really know how to control it or, like, how to handle it. He's the first one to run back onto the ship. And, so it was really cool. So Flint's way of getting back his captaincy was to have everyone see that Dufresne fails in areas where Flint usually succeeds more often than not. So really smart how he did that. And except as Dufresne points out later on that Flint is captain again. He was voted back in, but Flint was willing to. A few of their crew members actually got killed when he did that. So Dufresne points out that he can't even like comprehend what kind of man would, do that just to, get his own selfish motive forward. But still, it was very clever on Flint's part, selfish or not. And of course, it was really cool to see him, become captain again so quickly. It's a storyline they really probably could have like dragged out to the end of the season if they wanted to. They easily could have done that. That's what a lot of shows would have done, but not this one, apparently. It's actually moving at a pretty fast pace, and I was surprised by this and another point of the story I'll be talking about shortly. And, of course, cool seeing Flint put his, signature trademark jacket back on. It's really epic. And, let's see. There's a lot of things I could talk about. Before I get to the next strongest part of the past couple episodes, the one thing that's been a little bit weak since season 2 started is probably the whole Jack, Bonnie, and Max triangle they have going on here. If you guys remember in season 1, Bonnie actually, butchered, all those members from Vane's crew that, were involved in that rape of Max. And so they basically explain it this season like Bonnie did that because she actually has real feelings for Max herself, and so we get into this like lesbian love story again, or female love story, whatever you want to call it, because we've seen that sort of Max and Eleanor thing going on this season, so of course they start a new one this season. And I'm definitely not against gay anything. I mean, I've done speeches in class about equal rights and marriages and stuff like that, so I don't want anyone coming in here and thinking that's I hope none of you come in here and think that's the way I'm coming off. If it does, I apologize. But no, I have nothing against that in general. But, as long as in a show or a movie it works for the storyline. And, yeah, in a way it does make sense because, as I point out, the whole Bonnie rescuing her, or, sort of taking revenge on the men who violated her last season, that kind of fits together pretty well. But I feel like in another sense they're also just doing it because they feel like they need that lesbian hot love scene, or that little bit of nudity added to it. I feel like they also want to fill some kind of weird quota that a lot of shows seem to have. But again, I don't know. And it's not the worst case of this I've seen, of them just going with a trend or trying to fill a quota either, because like I said, it does sort of make sense for the story that they started last season. So I guess it's really no big deal. It's fine. But it kind of ends with Jack sort of saying, "Oh yeah, you have Captain Jack now because we're all going to work together. We're kind of in a position where we can't really do anything else at this point." And that storyline sort of reached a hilt, or not a hilt. Why am I saying a hilt? But that's the sword. But anyway, it sort of reached a certain peak in the episode XI, because we see Jack actually gets lucky enough to get a threesome with both Bonnie and Max. So lucky him. I'm not taking any credit away from him for that. But so they're all kind of going to be working as more of a cohesive unit again. And Jack's sort of accepting that Bonnie has these other feelings and needs and stuff like that, and they're still going to be working together because they do still care about each other. Bonnie does still care about, Jack, of course, because, all their history that we don't know everything about yet. But it's not terrible, but it's just, less interesting on, the Flint vein and, Ned Lowe stuff that's been going on lately. But still not terrible. Just, a little bit less intriguing to me, personally. But, if you like the characters, then fine, it's not bad. Let's see, I talked about Flint regaining his captaincy. Of course I have to talk about Ned Lowe. He was introduced in the premiere episode of Season 2. And really well played. I forget the actor's name, but he also had a part in Vikings through Season 1 and into the first episode of Season 2 of that show. He played One Eye in that, and he also has a messed up eye in this, so I wonder if the actor really has a problem with that eye or whatever, but he does a really good job playing that psychotic pirate. If you guys didn't know, Ned Lowe is actually a real person in history, and from the stories that are told, he was pretty psychotic in the way they show him on the show. And so I thought he portrayed that really well. They show how cold and brutal he is, because he goes to confront Eleanor and her barn, or not her barn, her bar or saloon, and he basically just makes a huge statement to her. He beheads his own crew member who he felt needed beheading, because of the whole trade issues and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go through all that right now, but he beheads his own crew member in a bar in the saloon. I forget what they call it exactly, but in Eleanor's building that she owns. But it was basically also a huge statement to her, personally and directly, because, he's sort of just asserting himself, not, he's not really wanting to work under Eleanor of all people. And Eleanor's bodyguard, I forget this one's name, but, he actually tries to fight Ned Lowe himself, and the fight lasts a minute or two, but it basically ends up with, him getting pretty brutally killed. I mean, Ned Lowe stabs him or slashes him, and then he, basically puts his sword through the guy's neck and throat and kills him instantly. So, yeah, that was really brutal, and it shows how calculating and cruel and cold he is, like I said earlier. And he's, looking at Eleanor while he does it, too. He's really sick and twisted. So I thought that was all really cool. That got me really excited, because I was really looking forward to having, a good physical villain for this season at least. And because I heard in history Ned Lowe lasts for a long time, so I didn't expect him to die anytime soon, at least till the end of the season anyway for the show. I can't. I apologize for that. But, I can't right now, Mom.
Okay.
God. Okay. Excuse that interruption. And excuse me getting irritated back there. I apologize for that. Sorry, guys. But yes, that's what happens when you're home alone and, dinner's in the oven. But, so I may have to cut this video a little bit shorter than I did plan on. But, and of course, the Ned Lowe thing was wrapped up a lot sooner than I expected. Because in the next episode, we see beforehand that Eleanor is basically asking for Vane's protection. And, he kind of sort of pees around the bush a little bit and sort of makes it ambiguous as to if he actually truly cares about her to that degree or not. And it's really cool how he does it, because in the next episode we see his conversation with Max about how Eleanor has some kind of spell over both of them, and how when Max herself talked to Eleanor earlier, she brushed her off, but there was a part for that one just to go after her again. And we basically see Flint sort of manipulate Lowe into thinking they're going to be working out some kind of deal, but basically ends up with Flint supposedly coming onto Lowe's ship by himself, but when they're having their conversation in the captain's quarters, Vane's other crew members come on the ship, and then they silently kill all the Lowe's crew members, and it basically goes into a one-on-one fight between Vane and Lowe, which I was really excited to see, because I think it's obvious that Vane does care about Eleanor. He has real feelings for her. If it's love, I don't know, but there's definitely something. It's no question. And so I was really looking forward to seeing this fight. I just didn't expect it so soon. It was really brutal, really close. It really could have gone either way. Really cool fight. But it basically ends with Vane, ironically enough, taking Lowe's head off, decapitating him, because of the way he did it to the guy in the Eleanor's building and stuff like that. And he brings it out, and he basically puts Lowe's head on a pike and, lets Eleanor see it on the island on Nassau. And, so Eleanor comes back in, they basically make love again, because, it's obvious that Vane, despite what he says, he did it for her. At least that was one of the biggest reasons, probably the reason why it happened so quickly anyway. And so that was really cool. I really like that payoff. I'm just sort of wondering if that happened too soon, because I would have liked to see Lowe stay around for the season at least. Like I said earlier, I felt like he could have been a villain that could have been written to be on for a bit longer, at least for the season, like I said. But still, really cool payoff. It felt like it was done well. Just didn't know if it should have happened as quickly as it did. But still really cool. And, of course, Flint arrives back in Nassau, and, of course, XI, and, he sort of starts questioning Eleanor's loyalty after. I also like the Flint flashbacks, too, with Hamilton and Miranda and stuff like that. It's been really good. But, of course, he drops off a special book at Miranda's place, and he basically has a conversation with Eleanor, kind of doubting her loyalty, because, he sees how easily she's seduced by Vane, and, they have a bit of an extra connection. Whereas, he's sort of trying to get her back on his side, because, they are kind of playing this whole thing out, and yet she looks like she's kind of betraying him here. And, because they talk about, Vane's killing not Vane, Flint's killing of Mr. Gates in the season 1 finale, and how he says he did that, for the good of the island and the good of them all, because, he is about to, kind of tear that whole thing down. And he still expresses, extreme, regret over having to do that. He wishes there could have been another way. He thinks there could have been, had he had another chance to do it over, because he did care for Gates in a way, I think. And, and he says, it's how far I'm willing to go for this island. I'm willing to kill, my best friend or a man I very much respect. And Eleanor is sort of on this weird fence, or siding with Vane completely. So that was a really good conversation, one of the best scenes in the episode, besides the whole Vane and Lowe fight. And the episode XI ends in an epic way. It's really epic as hell. Flint basically makes a huge decision. He says he's going to turn and go after Vane himself, who's taken over the fort. And he's sort of teaming up with the guy who Vane took it over from. And he's he also is questioning why Eleanor didn't do anything to stop Vane sooner. That is also part of their conversation that I mentioned a second ago. And, he basically ends with an epic speech from Flint to his crew about how they're going to rain. He promises by God that he will rain hell down on Vane, basically. So I think we're going to get that huge fight between them, and this is going to be really brutal. It's going to be really intense if it happens. I feel like it has to happen, so when it happens, it's going to be really awesome. It's definitely going to be the biggest fight we've seen in the series so far. They're going to have some kind of one-on-one, I think, pretty soon here. And, as Gates said in the last season, Vane's known as a really good, brutal fighter. But even Gates said the one that might go over Vane in that regard is Flint himself, who might actually be a little bit more capable and a little bit more tough than Vane, which is a big statement. But, so I think we're going to see that fight eventually, and it's definitely going to be the biggest scene in the series so far, I think. Except when England shows up, of course, that's probably going to be huge, but as far as one-on-one fights go, I don't think it's going to get any bigger than this for a long time. So it's going to be really intense to see how Flint decides to work all this and try to get Vane out of there. And I'm definitely on Team Flint here. I'm rooting for Flint all the way. Amazing character, multi-layered, complex. I love him. Vane's pretty cool too, but I'm definitely siding with Flint here. Alright, I have to cut this video a little bit shorter than I planned on, but I feel like I went over quite a good amount of it, at least the best parts of it anyway. But yeah, I'm actually planning on reviewing this show weekly now. It's really good. I'm enjoying it a lot. So yeah, I'll catch you guys next time for that review, and I'll also be posting a review of the mid-season return of The Walking Dead, what happened and what's going on, despite me being a little bit spoiled on it. I'll be reviewing that. That'll be up by late tonight, tomorrow at latest. So yeah, I'll catch you guys for that, and peace.